I am the Reading Rainbow Emperor, and today I'm talking about slush piles. It's a sad fact of the world that most stories that make it to publishers aren't exactly certified by the FDA for human consumption, and that's putting it lightly. And instead of a review, I'd like to talk about sort of like what I look for in slush. There's like three tiers. First tier is good. There's not much to do about it. Send it to your publisher. Sorry, I should start with a slush pile is a pile of submissions to a publisher. They have to be read and they have to be vetted. Most books don't make it past slush pile. Some places like Tor, Delenda Est, um, have huge slush piles. They just never get through them, and honestly, it's a crapshoot, random roll of the dice to get through. But then it's like small publishers like Superversive Press, they don't get much. But we also have a very high vetting standard. I run slush pile management for Superversive Press, and my goal is to vet out the bad ones, keep the good ones, and offer writers who might have some potential to improve what they need to improve. Um, and I'll talk about that in detail. So first off, the first rank, the good. Honestly, you just pass them on to your publisher. You say, "Hey, this is good. Please, give it to an editor, talk to them, and we'll get it going." There's not much to say about that. These are your John C. Wrights, your Tanith Lees, your actual good authors, right? But usually, if you're a good and well-known author, you'll kind of just get in the door, especially if you deliver good work all the time. It's not really the sale so much as long as you impress it, but if it's something that can sell, that's the best thing of all. Then we have the sort of the bad. Actually, I'm going to talk about the bad first because that's the short like kind of thing. If it's bad, I just send it off. I give them some very nice words about why X doesn't make sense. I tell them, hey, look at this, but we're not interested. I spend very little time on it. I do not bother anyone about it. I just take care of it. Um, a lot of authors, they're like, I wrote this book. I spent so much time on it, but it's like, please, it's not muse. It doesn't have the muse. It's not good. It's not worth reading. I'm sorry. I don't tell them that. I don't tell them that at all. Uh, but if uh, But if you send it to a small, passionate publisher, and they just send it back saying, "Hey, look, this isn't for us," either it's not their genre, in which case it's kind of obvious you're just deceiving yourself about what genre it is and where you want to send it, or it's not worth the time. And look, your mama might love it, but I ain't your mama. Um, and by the way, if someone says it's not their genre, like take them at their face value. Like if you ever get like something like, "Hey, it's not my genre. It's not really what we're looking for right now." Um, it's a bit short. For what we publish, it's a bit long for what we publish. All these things are possibilities. Sometimes publishers get very specific about what they publish. In which case there's probably have already been signs that you're not really right for them. You just kind of not have to be delusional about it. Then we have the medium pile. These are things that potentially have greatness or have goodness or just are publishable. You never know what's gonna hit it off. Like you can do advertising. You could do advertising for days. You could do all the Facebook ads you want. Guess what? Those Facebook ads are going to go to people who already bought your book. I get ads for my friends' books every day and I've already bought them. And it's like, "Oh, they're wasting their money on me." And there's nothing I can do about it. It's just Facebook. But it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. Like success is entirely based on God. Or if you're a godless heathen, random chance. And because of that, you can only pray and keep your powder dry. You can only do what you can. because really it's just not going to work out. Like, you can send out all the arcs you want, but if nobody advertises it, nobody advertises it. You can ask for advertisement, but if they say no, that's it. If they say yes, okay, maybe you get a couple more, and maybe you get enough of a snowball effect. But the way Amazon is, probably not. But that doesn't matter, because you still have the responsibility to do what you have to do. You still have the responsibility to ask for those arcs, ask for this and that. Say, hey, look, can I come on your podcast? Can I do this or that? A lot of authors, you know, they'll talk on podcasts or whatever. Like, I've had that problem myself where I don't advertise my book right. I'm terrible at advertisements. I need Chic of Mars. I have to advertise it better. Um, there's a whole bunch of things you can do, but if you refuse to do any of it, that's more on you than it is on the publisher. These are different times, but that's assuming you have gotten in. You still have to make it past me. Or whoever it is. Now, me, I take very great pride in it. I have certain standards of what I look for, and I always keep in mind what makes something bad or what makes something good. Recently, I did slush reading for what we shall call X. X had romance and certain world building that didn't work. In fact, characters have sex the first chapter. Then there's a mortar firing, and then like the second. And then I said, okay, this wasn't too good. I'm gonna check his second book out that he sent in at the same time just to see if it improves. And it didn't. And it's like they contradicted some things that happened in the first couple chapters of the other book where he was trying to do his world building. And I said, look, man, this, and this, you didn't do the world building right. You couldn't keep a consistent tone, and the sex just comes out of nowhere and doesn't mean anything. Sex should be meaningful. This is a book. This is a piece of art. Don't just put something in there for titillation unless the purpose is titillation, in which case you might just be writing pornography, which isn't worth reading. Um, yeah, so on and so forth. And he took it in good grace. And of course, I didn't say it like that. I explained things to him because, it wasn't bad. It wasn't the worst, you know, but it wasn't something that my publisher could publish. Then let's say Why. Why was another book I just read, and it's actually quite good. I hope he takes my choices to heart, and I said, hey, look, the memory comes back too fast. While this was cool, that was cool, you really don't have the threads connecting them together very well. Actually, I think I will bring it up and summarize it better for you. All right. So let's see here. So I read until I just can't read anymore, and the changes that would have to be made would just change the plot. So you have a good flow going, and then you cut it off with something. In his case, he often cut it off with eating a pear. So in other words, he takes like two sentences to describe her fishing out a pear and eating it, including a scene where the juice dribbles down her chin. You don't really need that. If you do like little turns of phrase, they always come out almost cringy. Instead, you want them doing natural actions. It was a very tense-filled scene. Breaking the tension is always a bad choice. Threw me for a loop. Then let's see here. Pear. He had a thought vampire, but all of a sudden she just gets all her memories. Like, her memories is just standing around in a glade, waiting for her to show up. That's not how you want it to work. Like, you want it to go in slowly. You want the tension to build as the memories come up. You want there to be something to work for. Even though she gained back all her memories, she still had to go to another place before meeting up with her family, and that place was somewhere she was going to go to anyway. So it's like it didn't add anything, and in fact it was a very large missed opportunity for character development, growth, and revelation and tension. It's a poor craftsmanship problem, is what I'm trying to say. Like somebody being told to paint it blue, but then like while the wood's on the has bark, painting it blue. It's not what it needs to do. It was a good scene otherwise, though. Like a lot of these things just are good scenes, except they do it a bit wrong. If we slow it down a bit, give it room to breathe, and then it can come in at bursts. Dream sequences are always fascinating if they're not in the first three chapters, unless your character is a sage. Uh, all right. So it also kind of like how they get how these monsters get taken out kind of just hurts the Dog of War, especially when they the remaining members of the Dogs of War capture the heroes. It's a pretty tense scene. They're about to put them to torture, and she's like, it's like one of those things. I'll know when you lie, and so she just lies, and it's like, I, I don't know. That's not how it works. I'm doing funny faces. Um, that's not really something that impresses me. It's not something that does anything for me. It doesn't do anything for the story, especially since it's a weird character development thing because she lies, and like is kind of an anti-hero, but she's also like a 12-year-old girl who is otherwise moral. It's a little bit weird. Um, there could like you could have amped the drama by having them see the memories coming back to her, or jostled her memory, or perhaps a clue or something, anything really. uh Amped up the drama, even if you are going to kill them a few pages later. Like, remember, the reader doesn't know what's going to happen in a few pages, so you can up the drama, reveal information, and then kill off the characters you talk to, provided it is done in the right way and they know that it's coming. Oh, not that they know that it's coming, but rather that there are hints that say there's a secret ally looking for the princess, but he's searching. Who knows where he is? Perfect opportunity for him to show up, you know what I mean? That's not the problem. The setup is the problem. Also, I have no idea. So, like, she's like, yeah, let's kill Plague. And it's like, excuse me, you're a 12-year-old girl. Yeah, but he's been killing my family's retainers. You're still a 12-year-old girl who just got her memories back and is looking for her parents. That's not how it works. You're not a bloodthirsty assassin trained by the Ninja Society. That would be acceptable if the ninja from the Ninja Society is on a revenge plot and discovers that Raijin wasn't the one who killed her master. It was Koinichi or something. It's like, yes, we must kill Koinichi. Perfect. A 12-year-old girl like that can say that all day. She's terrifying. She's terrifying. She's absolutely terrifying. She'll cut my throat. But a good Catholic girl who was just in school a day ago maybe doesn't have the bloodthirstiness um, to really pull that off. Somebody else could have. Somebody say, I don't know what to do. And you could have a moment where, like, somebody's dead, or, like, there's an assassination attempt on her parents that succeeds, or one that nearly succeeds with her. If you play up the assassin angle, it makes sense, but it's still revenge, and it still has all kinds of moral and intellectual problems that arise from having her character say it. Trust me on her character. This is factual to it. You know what I mean? Uh, if it's the ninjet, it's going to work out, but not. She isn't a ninjet. Um, and then it's like, I'm not gonna put your book down forever. But this is these are big problems. Um, there's a kiss scene. It comes way too early. Um, Basically, there was a romance developing it. Mostly it's shy on the girl's part. You don't really know what the guy thinks about, but honestly, that needed more development. He needed a ton of more development, and then he just kisses her. But she's like 13, 12, 14, 15, and he's like 13, 14 or something ridiculous like that. Um, it's like first off, ew, but secondly, ew. But thirdly, I think she was 15, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember how old she was. But, thirdly, it's not developed enough. He still seems to be kind of like out of it, and he's still like really hopped up on adventure and adrenaline. And it's like, of course, a boy hopped up on adventure and adrenaline. Yes, 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 yes. But it's like it's given more weight in the moment than it should have been for that kind of thing. It's not about the action, it's about the setup and the weight to it. If it just shows up out of the blue, it's meaningless. If it's like developed better, it's meaningful. That's how it works. And then I told him, and this is over Facebook stuff, I'm going to stop there for a bit. If you make the changes I recommend, send it in and I'll read it again. I can also recommend several high quality editors experienced with the superversive cadre, if you don't mind spending a little. And then we talk for a bit. And then I go, also, the innkeeper scene could have been. It's not like we like talked, but it's like, the conversation continued on later. Excuse me. Uh, could have been done better. The innkeeper sells out the heroes after making a pass at them. Ew, kinda, but not that bad. It really was too ramped up for what it was. And like the innkeeper starts to lie when he could have just said, "Hey, look, those are weird people. Like you told me, weird people to look for. Like looking for the weird people." And then like he gets beheaded because he annoys the faceless creature. And it's like, sure, you got to show the faceless creatures as evil, but honestly, just being the secret police is evil enough. Like you can oversell things. And so rather than have the innkeeper lie, just go, what does this have to do with Blackwood, fool? Because that's a character in the thing. And then he can be murdered, but really you need to do something like a defenestration, which is far more dramatic than just being beheaded. Sure, you can put like blood on people and stuff like that with a beheading, but defenestrating someone, throwing them through a window, is always going to be the cooler option. Defenestration is like an S-class murder maneuver. It's crazy. One time in Prague, two Catholics made demands of the Protestants who were ruling the city, and basically said submit to the Pope or die, and they threw them out of and the Protestants threw the two Catholics out a window. The defenestration of Prague. Actually, is it Prague? Uh, those two were made saints for like no reason. I think it was just a flex on the fenestrations of Prague. Yep, it was Prague. Basically, and there's a whole bunch of different versions of it. There's one in 1618, one in 1419. No, all kinds of different things. Like the Reformations were bloody as hell. The point is that it's a cool maneuver, and I just happen to like the defenestration of Prague. Apparently, there's multiple. I'm gonna have to do more research. There's a certain level of drama you need to have. If these people are already pretty theatrical characters, having them throw somebody through a window is in keeping with their theatrics. Not like the SS, who shoots people, or drags them off, or plays word games with them, but rather someone who's a brutal sort of physical threat. You can have the two of them pair up. It's like Butchie. What's that, boss? You know what defenestration is? I know exactly what it is, boss. And then they go for it. Now the fat idiot is out of the way. What do you have to say for yourselves? Etc., etc. That's the thing talking. The book is certainly salvageable. I give him my email address for when he decides to resend it to me. If he decides to resend, let's say he goes through it, but then I read it and the changes aren't made, I'm going to say, hey, look, did you send me the wrong copy? If he sent me the right copy and he has refused to change the things that I've recommended, I'm going to say, sorry, man, it's not going to work out between us. I have a very strong opinion of how books should go, but at the same time, I'm offering my advice that is really really deep editing for free, and I charge for it. So, there's I offer that for free. I'm spending my time on this. the prize is getting into the publisher. And the person that the publisher trusts to read the novels and to make judgment calls on whether they're good or not says that, hey, look, this is a clear gaping hole, this is a clear gaping hole, and this is a systematic hole. You're going to have to rewrite a lot of your book for this. However, the bones are good. And I really want to see you, improve it and come back. Like nobody, Chris, it's like, it's like when Gordon Ramsay does like MasterChef or something like that. He eats it, hey, this is pretty good, but it's not good enough, Luca. Come back next season. Luca comes back, aces the season, wins the MasterChef of that season. Not even joking. That's a real thing that happened. Luca it was one of the best characters that ever showed up in MasterChef. Genuine guy, lovely wife, beautiful, beautiful man. But it's like, like that's the sort of opinion I have. Not that I view myself as a Gordon Ramsay. I don't. Secret king, secret king. But not that Ramsay is a secret king at all. No, 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 no. He is. He is the king. But it's I have a very strong opinion as to what makes up the structure of a book. These things that I do are basically designed so that I have a more concrete view of how I view concrete look at how I view literature and what makes good literature and bad literature. Good literature has systematic, excellent internal logic. All of them do. The Count of Monte Cristo has the internal logic of revenge. Conan the Barbarian always has the logic of a fighting man. Uh, Vathek has those consequences and responsibilities. Uh, Galaxy's Edge has the violence that just connects everything together so well. Even the violent actions that, you know, aren't that great still have a place in the story and still serve as part of the progression and as callback fodder for the main characters. So on and so forth. Even like a shootout on a gas planet gas station. In the end has all kinds of purpose and puts pressure on the Black Fleet and so on and so forth. That kind of logic is necessary, especially if you want to put out a series. If the internal logic is weak, it won't move together. If it's strong, though, I'm sorry, I'm showing you intertwining fingers. I know that's very lewd, but if they're strong and they work out together, it you can't pull them apart easy. You can't have obvious flaws that ruin um, the suspension of disbelief, the all-important suspension of disbelief. The pair scene doesn't ruin the suspension of disbelief so much as it ruins the flow of the story, which ties in with the suspension of disbelief and so on and so forth. I'm sure I pretty much explained it. Now, I'm going to cover some scenarios. He comes back, he sends in the same thing. I'm going to say, hey, look, man, if you're not willing to make the changes, you're not going to work with us very well. Or if someone's like, hey, screw you, man, blank you, so on and so forth. It's like, look, that attitude's unbecoming of a professional artist. We're not going to accept your work. Please don't contact us again. Um, if it's somebody who's like, I think you're wrong, I'm going to take my book elsewhere. Hey, you know what? That's fine. If you produce something else, we'll be happy to look at it if they're a good writer. Um, not like good top tier writer, but like good in the second tier. Um, those are kind of the major reactions to Slush Pile. I've yet to have someone really scream at me for denying their book, but I have had authors scream at me for other things. Only half of them deserved. But I will assure you, I was not the one who screamed first. If you're at all interested in the Slush Pile, in putting forward a story, you can always send it in to any publisher just to get the feel of it. Small publishers always have a faster turnaround time than large publishers, just because that's how it is. Most people want to get into Tor for the fame of it, even though they pay like pennies on the dollar. um, but a small publisher is a little bit more like a small fast shark. Working with them is always better. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm the Reading Rainbow Emperor, and all my links are down in the doobly-doo below. I think I'll name this some sort of clickbaity title like Secrets of the Slush Pile or some nonsense like that. Good night. You're all wonderful. We have things like